Hi class, welcome to week 8. You are at the halfway point. So in this video, I'm going to talk a little bit about this week, but I'm really going to focus on the diet debate information. So let's pop in just really quick to week 8. Right now, what you are doing is you are working on studying this content and you're completing exam 2. Outside of that, you are also finishing your Forks Over Knives debate, and so this week your peer responses are due, and for the courtesy of your fellow students, could you please do your peer responses earlier in the week instead of later? Since I have asked that people respond to questions posed to them, it's not going to be very fun if the question is posed at 11:59 on Sunday night. They won't get a chance. So if you could move your peer responses to the beginning of the week, that would be great. All right, so now let's get into the diet debate. Here, you have the place where you can select your topic. And so you know how to edit a wiki now and go through that. Many of you have already signed up for your topic. Remember, you cannot select a topic for your paper until you've completed the information literacy. Here, you'll find all the details of the paper. So let me outline to you really quick some of the additional resources I have for you, and then we'll talk about the details of your paper. So I have here the basics of APA style. This paper does need to be APA style, and I've outlined inside the paper document what I'm looking for on that. I've given you an example of what an APA style paper looks like. In addition, you need 5 sources that come from peer-reviewed journal articles. And a peer-reviewed journal article is research that has been peer-reviewed by experts in field and is original research. And so this is where people actually do the experiments. So for this is where your textbook, the Mayo Clinic website, all of those would not be considered peer review. In the case of a peer-reviewed article, we're looking for original research. The nice thing is when you are doing your electronic search, beginning with the CWR library, you can select items that are peer-reviewed. All right, so let's go into the diet debate paper. Let's open this up. All right, so let's get this all onto one page so we can go through it. Okay, so as you can see from the very beginning, we have different sections. I would like you to use these sections. So title each section with the title that I have provided for you. In addition, you will see that each section has a recommended or an estimated page length. You can go over this, but if you fall too shy of this, you probably have not written a complete paper. And so these are just recommendations. The very first portion is the only part of this paper where you can use the word I. When we write research papers, we write in the third person. And so, but because I'm asking you why you chose the topic, I'm allowing the use of the term I, or written in the first person, for the very first portion of the introduction of your paper. The introduction, the purpose, is to give us an idea of where this diet came from. And this is where you can use blogs, .coms. These are not proven resources. These are really, what do the creators say? What is the history? You're giving us the background. Doesn't have to be true. It just has to be the background. The next section is okay, so for the methods section, this is where we begin to write in the third person. And so you might be wondering, how do you talk about what you're doing but write it in the third person? Well, the easiest way to do it is to start by writing in the first person. You could write this whole section in the first person and then transfer it over. For example, you may want to say, I began doing research at the MyCWR library. Well, the other way to say that would be, research began utilizing the MyCWI library. And so one of the easiest things really is just to write it in first person and transfer it over. In this section, you are highlighting the process you went through on researching your topic. You will find that you'll have to use lots of different research terms. and lots of different search terms. You won't be able to just type in paleo or Atkins. You will probably have to type in components of those diets in order to isolate different types of research. Now, the next section, the results section, is where the bulk of your paper is going to come in. This is where you are describing the research that has been done, which is also why the minimum of your five peer-reviewed journal articles come from this section, because you're telling us about the research. So you might say, Jones found, he did a study with 2,000 participants and found that group A lost more weight than group B. And then Smith over here found that no one lost weight. Whatever the results might be, you're going to tell us about that study, and you're going to tell us the results of that study. Basically, you're providing us the platform to understand, should we think that this diet has value? The conclusion portion of the paper is where you summarize what you have found. And so you are evaluating the research that you've posed to us and all the information provided, and you are making recommendations/conclusions. Are these claims true? Why or why not? For example, I think it was in Forks Over Knives, the researchers talked about, well, if you took someone with a basic American diet, which we know is pretty bad, and we put them on paleo and they get healthier, is it the fact that they stopped eating carbohydrates, or they started eating a lot of meat, or is it the fact that they stopped eating so much processed food? And so part of what you're doing when you're evaluating those claims is you're saying, are there valuable components? So you're really trying to say, what value can come from this type of diet, and are there valuable components? Okay, so let's scroll down here until we get to guidelines. So as far as APA goes, there are very specific things that I'm looking for. You don't need to worry about a cover page or running head or anything like that. I'm really looking for that it's 12-point font, it's double spaced, there's 1-inch margins, and that all your citations are in APA, and all of your references match your citations, and they are also in APA. You cannot have a reference that does not have a matching citation, and you cannot have a citation that does not have an accompanying reference. And then in this, we also really want to limit the use of quotes. You do need to put this entire paper into your own words. And so you want to cite every single source that you utilize, and you want to make sure that you use language that allows the paper to be in your words, but you do not really want to quote. We want to avoid quoting. Last but not least, I wanted to show you your submission portal for this, because for the diet debate, you will be using SafeAssign. Now, SafeAssign is a plagiarism check that will run your paper through the database, a national global database, against other student papers and then all resources out there. Everyone's paper will come back as marked some plagiarized, because your citations, for example, will be the same across the board and stuff like that. But for the most part, your paper should not resemble, reflect, or be similar to others' papers, the way you say it. So you really want to be thoughtful that you are putting this paper into your own words. I will go through all of these papers to make sure I don't look at a percentage necessarily of what's been plagiarized. I go through the paper to see what's been plagiarized, why it would be a copy from somewhere else. For example, if you put the name of a journal, that name would come up as plagiarized. And so you don't need to be concerned about that, but you do need to be very thoughtful that you are not inadvertently plagiarizing any of your work. Okay, well, that gives you all the detail on the diet debate and this week's information. You can also see that week 9 is already open and ready for you, and so you can begin work on that whenever you are ready. Have a great week 8.